The island of Sodor is a very special place indeed. There are lots of different forms of transportation: road, bus, tractor, and railway, among many others, of course, but railway is the most popular. You can see lots of engines hard at work, like Thomas, who always cheers everyone up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the island of Sodor. Winston and the Runaway Rocket. The engines on the island of Sodor enjoy being busy and different. Stephen is one of the most different looking engines on the island of Sodor. He is also one of the oldest engines. He was around when they used horses to carry passengers. One day, Winston and the Fat Controller arrived to the steamworks to visit Stephen. Stephen was being repaired and having his brakes checked. "Hello, Stephen," said the Fat Controller. "Hello, Victor and Kevin. I've come to check it how Stephen is doing." "I fix it that you're Stephen," said Winston. "Yes, I am," said Stephen. "Nice to meet you, Winston." "What brings you into the steamworks?" said Winston. "Have you broken down?" "I'm just having my brakes checked," said Stephen. "I'll be out in a little while." "Well, I hope you get repaired soon," said Winston. Winston was hopeful. "I will," said Stephen. "I was around in the time when we had court horses, and it was grease lightning, and I was the fastest around at the time." "I wish I could have an adventure as fun as that sounds," said Winston. "You can," said Stephen. "If you're hopeful, you just might get exactly what you're asking for. Goodbye." "Bye-bye," said Winston. Winston liked Stephen. And Stephen liked Winston. "I hope he has a fun adventure," said Stephen. Later on, Winston was out with the Fat Controller. "Tomorrow," said Sir Topham Hatt, "you will be with the inspector, and you will both go to see Stephen on his last day at the steamworks," said Sir Topham Hatt as they stopped at the red signal. "Have you ever had an adventure?" asked Winston. "What sort of an adventure?" asked the Fat Controller. "Like going really fast or having lots of fun," suggested Winston. "Well, every day on this railway is an adventure for me," said the Fat Controller. But that didn't suffice for Winston. He wanted to know more. The next day, Winston was out with the inspector. "I'll just be a moment," said the inspector. Winston spoke to Gordon, Henry, and James. "Have the three of you ever had some sort of an adventure?" protested Winston. "I have," said James. "Once I raced Rosie to prove who was the fastest red engine on Sodor, and I won," said James, "because I am the fastest red engine." "And then he crashed into the back of Tidmouth sheds," said Gordon. "Ha! Gordon!" "Sorry," said Gordon. "Once I pulled the Queen of England." "I was supposed to do that job," grumbled Henry. "But you didn't," teased Gordon. "Those jobs sound exciting," said Winston. "I hope I can do something that fun." "Come on," said the inspector. "We've got to see Stephen." "Okay," said Winston. Stephen was at the steamworks. He was almost ready to go and was having his final inspection. "Don't worry," said the workman. "I'll be out of here and upright again, just like I should be," said Stephen. But then there was trouble. The workman left Stephen's handbrake on, and Stephen started rolling on his own. "Help! I'm rolling away! Help! Help! Help!" he cried. "Help! Help! Help! Help!" Stephen's driver and fireman chased after him, but Stephen was rolling along. Stephen rolled along the island of Sodor. He had no driver or fireman and was very worried. He didn't know what to do on his own. "Help! Help! Help! I'm going too fast!" he cried. And there was no one to stop him. He raced round the bend. Winston and the inspector were going to see the Fat Controller at the station. I'll be just a minute with the Fat Controller and you'll get to see him, said the inspector. I'm expected you missed him. Of course I have, said Winston. Little did Winston know he was heading for trouble. Stephen came roaring round the bend. Help, help, help! Stephen was out of control. He rammed Winston. Ah! Help! The engines at the station were worried. Winston had never gone so fast before, and neither had Stephen. Help, help! Cried Winston and Stephen. Whoa, whoa! Stanley and Goliath were at the junction when Stephen and Winston roared through on the other line. Ah! Cried Stephen and Goliath. Stanley and Goliath were worried. Winston and Stephen raced past Sydney, and Sydney almost ran right into Goliath, and both came right off the rails. Stanley worried wrong. He hurried to get help. Winston and Stephen thundered down the hill. They raced past Stepney and Donald. Ah! Someone help! We had better follow them, said Donald and Stepney. After them, they cried. Winston and Stephen raced right back into the steamworks, and it was a mighty crash. Winston and Stephen, I am not pleased with either of you today. Racing about the island of Sodor, causing confusion and delay, and causing such ruckus. I am disappointed. What horrors, said Sir Topham Hatt. We're sorry, said Winston. I know I am. Me too, said Stephen. I just wanted an adventure, said Winston. I know now that that's not the way to go about it. Then you should know that adventure lies within, and I expect both of you back to work by the end of the day. Thank you. I'm sorry I pushed you about the island of Sodor today, said Stephen. It's all right. It was a nice little adventure, said Winston. Really, said Stephen, it wasn't much fun for me. I never want to go that fast ever again. I wouldn't mind doing it another time. And Stephen and Winston both laughed and realized that they'd had fun. Have you and your friends ever wanted to go on an adventure but went about it the wrong way? Once, I tried to take my friend Frank on the narrow gauge railway out along the standard gauge line and show him all the beautiful sights to cheer him up. Of course, this went wrong when Frank had an accident. He had uncoupled from my train and derailed. So I took him to the works to be mended, and there they fixed him. Winston asked the Fat Controller if he had had an adventure, but the Fat Controller's reply didn't suffice until one day Stephen was a runaway and pushed Winston all around Sodor. Winston realized he never wanted to go that fast again, at least for a little while. See you next time.